Hello viewers, here's a mindful man reading another chapter from Paul G. Brett's The Clinic, which is on Amazon KDP. She giggled again, and I leapt upon her in a spirited way that could only have come from a day of parochial tension and theological dispute. A week later I received a call from the bishop thanking me for our hospitality and inquiring whether I had been able to put Amanda's family at ease about that outburst. He wanted to assure me in a pastoral sense that he was very mindful of the distress caused by the inability to have children, and to say how much he had them in his prayers. I was to keep him informed about their progress, and if a contribution from one of his funds might help at any time. I was not to hesitate to approach him. It would be best if I did so if we were to discuss it discreetly over the telephone, and didn't put anything in writing in case it was seen by uncomprehending eyes. I was quite taken aback by this. He might have firm principles, but a compassionate pastor's heart was clearly beating beneath his pectoral cross. "I'm very grateful, Bishop," I said. "This is most thoughtful of you." He might have views I did not like, but he had won my allegiance. There was no doubt about that. I thought about this for several days and then rang Peter Greenford. He would help me to know what to do. If I could get past his veneer of cynicism about the church and fixed an appointment for the following week. In fact, he was most obliging and invited me to his house over in Witherbrook and added an invitation to stay on for a spot of lunch, as he called it. Peter, I began as I settled into the voluminous sofa in his sitting room and sipped my morning coffee. "I've got a small problem, and I need your advice, ethical advice." Well, I'll just check. Ethical advice, then go back forward. Well, that's one for the book. I thought you chaps were the ones to dish that out. Having trouble obeying his godly motions in righteousness and true holiness, are you? Isn't that what the old prayer book calls it? It is. It's the collect of the first Sunday in Lent. But godly motions are more your line of country now, aren't they? I giggled childishly. This is something different. I don't think they had problems of that sort in those days. Just used a blown-up pig's bladder and a bit of arsenic if they caught something, and if that didn't work, hard luck. We've moved on a bit since then, thank God. No, it's not that sort of problem at all, and there you are, invoking the name of the Almighty. You're not such a heathen as you'd have me believe, are you? I smiled at him, glad to be able to score this point in our ongoing jousting match. He became serious for a moment and said, "So what's the trouble? How can I help?" "It's Amanda Fairlop. We spoke about her the other day, you remember?" "I do, yes, unfortunate girl." "Well, you may have heard what happened when the bishop came to preach. It was such an embarrassment, and in my church too. I just think I've got to try to do something. I believe she has the right to procreate, and there must be ways of helping her, but I don't know how to go about it. There is a way, of course, but I don't think vicars are allowed to do that to their flock, in the vestry or behind the organ." "No, Peter, I'm serious. I need your professional advice. And of course it is a very delicate matter. She may not want help from the church, judging by her attitude to us these days. I think of this as a pastoral challenge, a duty of care even, in your sort of language. She is one of my flock." "Yes, I see. Are we like sheep, eh? But you are quite right, she does, and she should, the NHS has. But I don't think they want her to go through all that. I've heard that it can take years. And they are not getting any younger. She's just into her 30s already. Is there anything that can be done?" There may be. She could go private, I suppose. It'd cost a lot of money. Have they got—" "Oh, it's all right. I know where I can get help if it's needed," I said, making a rather reckless assumption. "But where and how?" He said again, and then after a pause went on, "I know of a clinic in London that might do something." "Do you? That'd be wonderful, but we'd have to get them to accept the procedure. That might be a problem. They'd have to be willing subjects or it wouldn't work. Oh, I think they'd be willing enough, but getting them to go up to London is a big step. They're just country people at heart. You could talk to them. I think we'll need to come at it more obliquely. I'm not a favourite person just at the moment. Could you speak to her? I suppose I could. Normally she'd have to go through the GP first, but then I have seen her before. We could try. I suppose I could talk to her mother. There's more to Jean than people think, and she might talk to Amanda. That might help, I said, only half believing my own words. Leave it with me, old friend. I'll make some inquiries for you. You'll hear from me within a fortnight. Now, he said, getting up and shaking himself for that spot of lunch. I followed him into the kitchen and saw the table already laid for two and a large bowl of fruit. I'm glad you've come, actually. Muriel is away at the moment, and we've got some rather delectable cheeses in. This one's a real farmhouse cheddar, he said, taking the cover off a large wooden cheese board. And that's a French one called Charus, and there's a little goat's milk thing. Something. Do you know it? Very delicate. We were down there the other day. No, I don't, but it sounds wonderful. And there is something else. The best cheese there is, in my view. It's made with ewe's milk. Stilton. Not as good, I don't think. Nice at Christmas, though. Like a glass of this. Bergerac. Not bad at all. Coming up to chapter 5 for the next reading. Hope you enjoyed this book by Paul G. Brett called The Clinic. Please sub me.